We've got that weekend feeling. It's an international flavour here on this week's What a Shout. Welcome back to the Racing Post flagship feature weekend show, filmed every Friday morning somewhere in the capital. Myself, Dave Orton, back with you to steer you along the way. Like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. That's what it's all about. Facebook, get your questions in below. Send us your tips for the big races. We'll be looking at all of them. Paul Kealy joins me back in the studio, top tipster at the Racing Post. How are we, Keels?
Top tipster. I had a shocking last 2 days at Goodwood, so I'm not feeling that top at the moment, but hopefully we'll get... Fancy quite a few this weekend, funny enough, but hopefully it will be better than last weekend.
I'm not going to get your rant out the way because we've got big calls and hot topics incorporated this weekend, but it's fair to say that the weather is a topic at the moment.
Oh, it's just a pain in the backside, isn't it? All this rain around non-stop, isn't it? And 5th warmest July on record, according to the Met Office in the UK. Can't have that. I can't think of 5 worse, to be honest, but that's what they say. But yeah, it's been a miserable summer, isn't it?
Okay, and we're expecting the heavens to open. Pat Cooney, will you be sheltered up from our sponsors Bet365 this weekend?
Oh, no, I'm just looking forward to a cracking weekend's racing. And delighted to have Sean Levey on the show. I was at Newbury a couple of weeks ago, and he rode 2 winners. He gave them both tremendous rides, Garbash and Happy Romance. So jockey at the top of his game on the show for us today.
There you go. And as Pat said, it is an international weekend. Now, the Shergar Cup meeting, of course, didn't run last year in 2020 because of all the restrictions and that sort of thing. But we are back and running, albeit in a slightly different guise. However, it's good to have it back. And the captain of the international team joins us on the show. It's classic winning jockey, Sean Levey. Sean, where are you?
To be honest, I just I had to go and ride out Sam Cooke this morning. Beckett rang me yesterday and said he's a bit of a tricky ride. And he said, could I get in and sit on him just so I knew a bit more about him for tomorrow? So I'd have to come out here. Well, do you know what? Funny enough, I've lived 15 minutes from Beckett's, and I've managed not to get in there for 10 years. So I'm my first day in today.
There you go. All right, great to have Sean on the show, and Sam Cooke, one of your 5 rides tomorrow. Before we talk about that and exactly how your arms are feeling after riding that piece of work, let's talk about your career in total, Sean, because of course you're captain of the international team tomorrow. Swaziland, we know that's where you mainly originate from, but of course your father's Irish, your mother's from Swaziland. You've been all over the place, but you landed in Ballydoyle, didn't you? This is where it all really started for you, Sean. Your first winner in 2005. We counted, I think, 626 winners in total now. That's what we got at the Racing Post. Many of them have come for your current boss, Richard Hannon, but it all kicked off in Tipperary after being on the pony circuit. I believe your brother rode there as well. What was it like then, Sean? You were apprenticed to Aidan, of course.
Yeah, no, like I've always said, I was quite a privileged, I suppose, apprentice to start off where I did. To be honest, I really got the bug for it when I started doing pony racing. My dad dropped me and my brother off in Ballinasloe, and we rode for a man called Tony Began for what was our summer holidays. And I think that's when I got my confidence and kind of wanted to pursue being a jockey. My dad was working in Native Bryans at the time, and as luck would have it, he ended up signing me on.
You had a group winner there, of course. You rode a lot of what we thought was pacemakers. But just for the viewers' interest, Sean, I mean, you were there, 2005 for 8 years when you were around about that sort of time. What were the horses that really took your breath away? You know, riding work there. Massive compliments from Aidan after you left about, your standard of work riding and stuff, Sean. Which were the top 3, not necessarily in order, some old names that really took your breath away?
For the ones I sat on, I was lucky enough. I used to ride quite a lot of work on Yates before he won his first Gold Cup, and he was an amazing animal. He was great not just for his ability and the fact that he was a good horse. He was great because he was the first horse they kept for so long, and it was nice to see. You kind of knew him as a character as the years passed, and then especially with his victories in the Gold Cup, he was definitely a stable's favourite. Best horse I probably ever worked was George Washington, I thought. And look, there was just so many of them. They were all, individually great in their own right. And like I said, I was just privileged to be a part of the team at the time.
There's a lot out there, available info on Sean, his journey so far. Great Wikipedia page. When you're a classic winning jockey, Sean, you tend to get a pretty good Wikipedia page. But there's plenty of articles that you've done out there. Of course, you went to David O'Mara's. Didn't quite work out that you went freelance. Then you landed in Marlborough, right? For Richard Hannon Sr. Now Richard Hannon, of course, taking over the reins. We got to think something like 282 of your career winners have come from the base. Let's get up on the screen then, as ever, Sean's best horses by Racing Post Racing. Now, King of Change right at the top there, Sean. That was some day when he took out the QE2. Of course, he finished second in the Guineas. What a shame he never made it back.
Oh, no, an absolute total shame. Obviously, I did have Bissell and Brook first, but there's nothing like finding a very good colt. And he was in line to stay on in training as a 4-year-old as well. And look, it's racing, isn't it? That's just the way it works out. Unfortunately for him, he had a setback. He got back, and because obviously they wanted him to go to stud, and they didn't want to take the risk of running him again. So we never seen him after the QE2. But look, at least we got the QE2 in, right?
Well, you didn't have to wait long for another Group 1 winner. Of course, 4 Group 1s we counted it at the Racing Post that you've ridden. And Snow Lantern, of course. That ride in the Falmouth, man, of course, it came with a sting in the tail. Meant you had to miss Glorious Goodwood. But she's a filly you must be looking forward to getting back on. Avenging the mother's defeat in the Falmouth, Sean. The form of the Falmouth looks insane as well. Where can we expect to see the great filly next?
As far as I know, she ran... I think the discussion was she ran in the Sussex because they wanted to stay at a mile, and with it in mind to go for the Sun Chariot next. So I'd imagine that's what you'll be seeing her next.
If she learns to settle, Sean, let's face it, we didn't see much of her at 2. If she stays in training at 4 and learns to settle, mile 2 should be well within range. She's a strong finishing filly, isn't she?
She is. Look, she obviously started this year with only after having one run as a 2-year-old, which she was relatively inexperienced, and she wasn't quite doing things the right way, you know. She obviously won a maiden, but look, she's a Group 1 filly now. Winning a maiden was an easy enough task, and you've seen how wrong things went for her in York on a second run, just showing how inexperienced she was and how she was, you know, like I said, still learning. It was lovely to see her put it all back together again in Ascot.
Girl power very much. As I said, Falmouth sizzling form. Before we bring in Gills, Pat Cooney, you've got a question. There seems to be something about Sean and the girls, isn't there?
Yeah, Sean, I hope this isn't a ridiculous observation, but apart from King of Change, I look at the success you've had, and 3 of your biggest wins have been all on fillies: Billiston Brook, Snow Lantern, and Happy Romance. Would it be fair to say you get an extra tune out of fillies as good as you are with the colts?
Calling me a ladies' man now.
That's a trick question, Sean.
My missus would probably beg to differ, I'd say. But no, the fillies are hard to work, and yeah, I should probably just get on better with them, yeah.
Oh, that was a real curveball, that one. Let's bring it back, because Paul Kealy's in the studio, as you well know, Sean. #1 fan of your classic Guineas winning heroine, we can call her that, Billiston Brook.
Oh, yeah, what a filly. I remember telling a group of lads in the club that she was an absolute certainty to win this nursery at Goodwood one day as a 2-year-old. And well, she got bumped and barged around on the inside non-stop, and she must have been about 6.5, 7 lengths down with 100 yards to go. I'm swearing at everybody, next thing you know, she absolutely takes off and she gets up. It was fantastic. I am not saying that I backed her for the Guineas, because I didn't, but I did back her for the Oak Tree when she won that at 12-1, and I did back her for the Sun Chariot. I think what she liked was a decent pace and horses to run through.
Yeah.
And when she got those conditions, she was a very good filly. She might not have been the best at Shaw's Road, but she's one that sort of warmed my heart whenever she won a race. And she won, she got her two Group 1s, but I'd still put King of Change down as the best. I mean, let's not forget, he was so commanding when he won the QE2, and obviously he beat the horse that took out Palace Pier last.
The Revenant.
And he was always in command that day. And he got me out of a hole as well, because it was the only winner I tipped on the card, and it was a nice big price as well, 14-1. Would have loved to see him go on for that, but he was a very good horse that day.
That's the past then, Sean. We've got to look to the future. Now, you're the captain of the international team tomorrow at the Shergar Cup. 2 questions. What's it going to be like captaining the Viking Kevin Stott and also the Italian Andrea Azzini?
Yeah, captain. Oh, am I going to tell them? They've been riding just as long as I have, haven't they?
Is this a day, Sean, where you can be a bit more relaxed about everything? Or, not pinch of salt, of course. We've got to be careful what we do there. It's Marmite for a lot of people, the Shergar Cup, but it also happens to be one of Ascot's popular days. In fact, I'd say the most popular day, fan base-wise, apart from the Royal Meeting.
No, I totally agree with that. It's like it's very competitive, but at the same time, I suppose lesser pressures than the big Cardinal meetings you have. It's great. I can see how some people would consider it not the best event in the world, but I thought as a family day out, going to Ascot and get involved, I think it'd be great.
I can imagine you get up tomorrow morning. It must be great to just go and have this fun event, and absolutely, and internationals will be bidding desperately to win it. You've got 5 rides, Sean. I'm assuming you've looked at them. You mentioned Sam Cooke, who, it's fair to say at the Royal Meeting, was probably one of the most headstrong horses running in any race that week. He went to Chester last time. He also pulled a little bit hard, but he didn't half finish strongly. They must fancy him a little bit if they're letting you into Rafe Beckett's for the first time in 10 years.
No, I definitely fancy him. He's he's a horse with a lot of ability who's probably he's inclined to do things probably the wrong way here and there. But he ran a lovely race with a hood on in Chester last time. He's given me a great ride this morning. He's in good form, and I think he deserves his favourite chance in that race. Yeah,
a jockey that does his homework then, Sean Levey. You can tell that Sam Cooke will indeed be fancied to get it right in the Mile 4 race there tomorrow. All right, let's have a look at exactly what we've got coming up for you on the show. Hot topics. Yeah, we're going to throw it up and mix it up for you. Something new. Sean will have a little say on that as well. We've got a lovely piece from Mickaelly Michel from quarantine in her hotel, the French jockey that's coming over. She's going to be a sensation tomorrow at the Shergar Cup. All the big race previews and, of course, those important weekend winners. Well, if you'd like to sign up to our sponsors Bet365 on Shergar Cup Day, you can do so with a referral code. Type in SHOUT365 on entering, minimum £5 deposit for up to £100 bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Hot topic time then here on What a Shout. Now you regular viewers will be thinking, where on earth are the big calls? Well, we've got a new segment here for you. 6 topics each week. Now going down the line, we want some viewer interaction. Whatever your hot topic is this week, get involved in YouTube, our Twitter account, hashtag What a Shout, Facebook, however you can get hold of us, do. However, the 6 topics on the screen in front of you. Each guest or panellist chooses one. Do you mind if I go first?
Fire away, mate.
I'm going to take the first folio issue. And it was an issue last week. The 3-year-old that ended up being top weight in the consolation race. Yes, he didn't run his race on ground that was too soft. However, he was anti-post favourite for the Stewards Cup. He couldn't get in the race. He missed the ballot by 1. Now, that's fair enough. Not a problem. It happens. You go for the consolation. You take your medicine. However, on the Thursday, 4 horses came out, Keels. One of them ran on the Thursday that was doubly declared. Because of the weight for age, the £5 issue, there were 4 horses, I think 8 horses, in fact, that ran that were lower rated than first folio. He was robbed, man.
Tough.
Is that it?
Absolutely tough. Yeah.
But we're stopping 3-year-olds from running in these races.
A lot of people have made this argument, especially with respect to the EBO as well, because obviously the weight for age is a lot more. All right. And the problem being, right, if you let them run by rating, all right, you would have an awful lot of 3-year-olds who would have their mark covered up for a little bit longer. Right, and secondly, right, you're keeping older horses out of handicaps. They'll all go to Australia. You'll lose a hell of a lot of older horses, and it would completely unbalance the program.
A lot of people don't like me included.
Show your hand, get in the race.
Yeah.
Or tough, don't get in. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm not... okay, fair enough. But I think it was tough on first folio. I think it was tough on the winners group as well.
It was hard luck.
I don't know. I think especially the one that was doubly declared on Thursday as well. Kills doesn't agree. What do you think? First folio. That sounded a little bit iffy to me. Pat Cooney, simmer down a little bit. What's your topic?
Yeah, the two words you want to hear when you back a winner is weighed in. Now, we had a scenario, and it's been ongoing for a couple of months now, and it's just a bugbear of mine. Jockey comes in, he rides a winner, well done. He gets interviewed, let's say, by ITV, and then gets interviewed again by Sky Sports or Racing UK, or even the people on the track. And the jockey takes ages to weigh in. And course bookmakers won't pay out until the official weighed-in signal gets announced. The trophy presentations can be very, very disjointed. You're waiting for the jockey to come out. The crowd have gathered. They want to give the winners a round of applause. There's no sign of the jockey. He's on being interviewed. He's got to get weighed in and so forth. There will be a day when a jockey doesn't weigh in on time, and there'll be chaos in the betting ring. Bookmakers have paid double result. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I just think, going forward, can the jockey just weigh in first and do the interviews afterwards? It's an accident waiting to happen, this.
Interesting. Let's bring in Sean Levey. You remember back in the old jump season, poor Alexander Thorne forgot to weigh in after being interviewed by Luke Harvey. Now, Sean, you don't have to be politically correct on this show, my friend. This has happened to you a couple of times, these lengthy post-race interviews.
To be honest, I think there's more and more as far as social media and all that's concerned. We seem to be doing a lot more interviews as soon as we, after winning, say, a race or whatever. I think it's right that before you would only be talking to, say, one TV company, like it was either at the races or it was Racing UK, whereas now a lot of the time it's ITV. There's a lot of more people on there. There's other people with their own shows on the side, and you get bombarded by these people before you ever get to weigh in. And you're right, it is probably an accident trying to happen. But the other thing is, if you happen to be riding in the next race, it's difficult to you'd have to go in, weigh in, then weigh out before you come back out to talk to the press. And it's probably, you could probably do it that way, but like I said, there's only half an hour between races, so maybe there's something that is something that needs looking at.
Pat Cooney actually onto something there. If you go to different jurisdictions, for example, in Australia, it's part of your contract in Victoria and the New South Wales that you have to give a line on your horse. Now, if you see these guys lining up, they go to the scales first and then do it. So accident waiting to happen. All right, interesting topic. I won't get you pouring scorn on that one. But let's have a rant, Kills. I teased at the top of the show. Choose your topic.
I don't want to rant too much. I want to be, I want to be objective about it. But I mean, the bane of punters' lives in general is the going and going descriptions. And I went down to Goodwood Saturday. Now, courses can struggle when it comes to rain, especially when you've got thunderstorms and showers forecast, and they can be so localised. I was standing in a queue for a cab to the track at Chichester, and it wasn't raining and the sun was out. When we arrived at Goodwood, it hadn't rained on the way. But when I got there was running water outside the track. They had obviously had an absolute downpour. But nobody had gone out onto the track and remeasured going. So the first race on the card went down and goes down in the official record as being run on good to soft ground. It was nearly heavy. The jockey said so afterwards. I think Sylvester D'Souza said it rode like heavy. They changed it to soft afterwards. Now, I'm not just having a go at Goodwood, but we get going descriptions wrong nearly all the time. Now, we have time based. If you click on the analysis of times, you'll get a time-based going next to the going on Racing Post website. And on 6 of the 7 meetings in Britain and Ireland, our time-based ground was different than the official verdict. That can't be right. We've got to do a better job of it, one way or the other. But not sending someone out on the track to actually measure the course. And that first race at Goodwood goes into the form book forever as being on good to soft ground. It's nonsense. How can we have a record like that?
Does seem that Clerk of the Courses, in particular in the modern times, are very worried about changing the going pre the first race, especially at these big meetings. Sean, let's bring you again in here for a word. How many times, you don't have to dig anyone out, of course, but how many times you come back in from that first race and you have someone like me in your face with a dictaphone saying ground, and you say it's completely different to what it is?
This happens very, very frequently. It's an argument a lot of the jockeys have had for a long time now. And you're dead right. It kills the form. It makes it quite difficult to read the form on horses, especially horses you don't know. But the amount of times you get to the races thinking, you've seen it rain all the way up there and they're still calling it good to form. Doncaster, yesterday. It rode the slow side of good. Obviously, depending on what you ride it, you might see it a little bit a little bit softer or a little bit quicker, depending on what you ride. But ultimately, it was cold good to firm, and it was nowhere near that. It was the slower side of good at best. And it happens all the time. And then, it's hard to see. You can ring trainers up and go, here, look, the horse didn't handle the ground. And they're turning around looking, going, it says it's good to firm. Yeah, it's quite difficult. And going forward, then, it ruins horses' form, because it never says exactly what the going was when it ran. So, yeah, look, I totally agree. That's definitely something that needs looking into.
Some of the great minds here at the Racing Post are looking into that. Thanks to Keels, thanks to Sean, thanks to Pat. There were the hot topics then. Next week, get yours in. See the week develop, let us know. Get them in below. As promised, Shergar Cup weekend, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome along the one jockey who has gone into quarantine for the weekend. It is French superstar rider, I think we can call her that, Mickaelly Michel joins us from a London hotel in quarantine. Mickaelly, bienvenue.
Everything is okay. Thank you so much.
Now, quite what you have been doing, all different shows, Sky, I don't know, at the races, I don't know, all these things, Ascot press conference, and welcome to our show. First of all, Mickaelly, how have you found quarantine? Has it been okay?
Very funny.
Mickaelly is somewhere in a hotel in London, and she is just about to come out of quarantine for 5 rides on Shergar Cup Day. Mickaelly, before we talk about each horses, of course, you've only found out on Thursday who you were riding. It comes out randomly. You're part of the female team, obviously, with Hayley Turner and Nicola Curry as well. I'm sure you know Hayley from riding in France. However, it's fair to say, thanks to your agent and partner, Fred Spanu, that you have been a globe-trotting jockey, Mickaelly. This is not your first trip around the world. Your time in Japan for the World All-Star Series, that really showed the world who you were.
Yes, of course. I make already a lot of championship, but the Shergar Cup, it's a big one and famous one. So I'm very happy to be here. And of course, my agent, Frederick Spanu, is also on the quarantine on the next room close to me. And we are very exciting to be tomorrow.
Fred has worked at Ascot before, hasn't he? Has he told you much about the track, the stiff climbing finish?
Yes, he spoke with me about the track, and we watched some races on YouTube he gave me some advice. And also I spoke with Christophe Semillon, who rode a lot of in Ascot, and he gave me also a lot of advice. So I'm ready to win.
Oh, yes, definitely ready to win. Paul Kealy, our top tipster here at the Racing Post, is with us as well. Goodness knows what she's going to make of you, Keels. But Mickaelly has 5 rides tomorrow, starting with Al Jadi in the first. Now, she can learn how to ride the sprint course. Al Jadi's quite an interesting horse anyway for Robert Cowell. He's gone down in the weights. He's got some Ascot form.
He's a talented horse with some Ascot form, but if you want a sprinter, there's one with a very, very good chance in the last. I think it's your best rider of the day, Mickaelly, is Dream Composer in the final race. It'd be nice to go out on a winner, wouldn't it?
I'm very happy to ride on the straight line also in Ascot, because it's a famous famous way. And I'm really happy of my list of my horses. I think I have a good horse.
Yes, Dream Composer is the one in the 3:45. Me and Paul, we both just think it wins.
Should have won at Royal Ascot.
Yes.
Got in a lot of trouble. Had to come round a lot of horses. If you can keep him in a straight line, he will go very close.
And even if it rains, Mickaelly, Dream Composer will love it. So if you go through 4 races, no win, don't worry about it. 3:45, you'll be winning that one.
Of course, I will just push and don't take back of me. Just focus on the goal.
Pray for rain. More rain, the better.
So James Evans' horse in the 345 has a great one. Mickaelly, thanks ever so much for joining us here on What a Shout. We wish you all the best tomorrow and for the rest of your career. I know you're looking forward to going back down to Japan. I even read you've been practicing your languages in the hotel quarantine.
Yeah, thank you so much. And also, I hope to come back soon in Japan, but we will see. With the COVID, it's not easy. But first, I will enjoy Ascot tomorrow.
Yes, thank you for coming over, Mickaelly. You've made what would have been a tricky Shergar Cup a lot more international. Thanks to the globe-trotting Mickaelly Michel. Check her out on Google. She's got a huge following down in Japan for a good reason. She was third in the All-Star Championships, and myself and Keels think she wins the last. Let's look at the first of our race previews for you then. This Super Saturday is all about the Shergar Cup, as mentioned. We've just come out of the Mickaelly Michel period, and it's fair to say, when someone said you've done a Steve McLaren there, Dave, or hello came up and good moaning.
Let's try and talk really, really slowly. That was my attempt at talking slowly as well.
I'll tell you, well, look, what a good sport Mickaelly Michel is, and there is a horse in this that she's got a bit of a chance on, but this will give her the feel of the track, of course. I won't ask you to pronounce Count d'Orsay, who runs, of course, Pat Cooney is Count d'Orsay, but who is Le Favorite?
Well, Le Favorite at the moment is Tis Marvellous of Clive Cox, Kevin Stott aboard, and that has been well backed since the final decks came out. Stall 1, and it's got course and distance from, I think it's had 10 races at Ascot, 2 wins, 2 places. Money also around Tone the Barone of Stuart Williams. We know this fellow as an all-weather horse, and he's not run for, 4 months, but another course and distance winner when he was last on the turf. So a good opening off race, really. I quite like Desert Safari. His last 2 runs, he ran typical Mark Johnson, of course. He ran twice at Glorious Goodwin, and he ran well both days, 3rd to Lord Ridderford. And then he was 7th in the Stewards' Cup, only beaten 3 lengths. That was off 98, and he's off 95 tomorrow, which, that's worked out quite nicely for him. So from a handicapping point of view, Desert Safari appeals to me. But Tis Marvellous, definitely the one for money, though, if you like going with the market movers.
The great thing is about this Shergar Cup, merci beaucoup, by the way, Pat, is that you have returning winners, don't you? And we've got 2 in this race, obviously. Stone of Destiny, who is a hair-pulling type of horse, but on his day, as we saw in the Portland last year, and he does know how to get the job done. He could get a lead from Sean Levey, who we mentioned about on King of Change as well on the far side. But where did you see this going?
Well, the one I liked, and it's a bit ground dependent. It depends entirely on what rain Ascot gets. I mean, their own forecast is between 8 and 12 mil. I don't think it's going to take much to turn it on the easy side, given just how much rain we've had in Britain over the last few weeks. And Snazzy Jazzy just really interests me. Back at 5 furlong again. Now, obviously, he's been a very decent horse in his time for Clive Cox. He left Clive Cox last year and he came back, he ran into Wokingham, didn't show anything at all. It was his first run for Lawrence Mullane. He was obviously entitled to need it. Next time out, it was a really sort of surprisingly good run. 5 furlongs for the first time in a long while at York. And we finished 4th to Winter Power. And that... not only was a real good run at 5 furlongs, on good ground, it was just about the best run of his life on ground faster than good, which suggests that he's still got plenty of ability, and a much stiffer track like Ascot with a bit of ease on the ground is going to be absolutely perfect for him. I think on ground softer than good, a trip shorter than 7 furlongs, he's 5 from 10. He's got a decent handicap mark now. I think he will go very, very well.
2 things I'm going to ask you about that. Dare I say the word project? Because I remember you put this up, of course, at Royal Ascot. It was a tough first time back, but it looked like he had his ground. Is this something that you've seen then? Either this is it, peak fitness, 3rd time?
Well, I was half interested. I was half interested in him at Ascot just because he had that form on soft ground and a handicap rating to go to war with. He didn't show anything at all. But now he's suddenly come back to one big step forward. It was an enormous step forward at York in conditions that you just wouldn't expect him to appreciate.
Yeah, and if it buckets down, he's going to love it.
If it buckets down, it'd be right up his alley. The stiffer track than York it definitely is. But I mean, he's obviously shown that he can be competitive because that was a listed race. Winter Power's a good race, going to run in the good horse, going to run in the Nunthorpe. He had some decent 5 furlong performers behind him at a trip that he's not really used to running. So, the stiffer test with a bit of ease in the ground, it really is right up his alley.
And just another quick one, Kills, because this is the one race that we're actually giving a preview to at the Shergar Cup. How much are we putting emphasis on jockeys here?
Well, I always say, and I maintain that it is, it's why I don't think team events work, certainly for me, is everything is always about the horse. I always look at the horse first. I pay very little attention most times as a jockey. I will look to see whether a jockey is riding for a trainer doesn't ride very often and has a good record with them. Right? But when it comes to jockey's ability, it is one of the last things on my checklist. I'm far more interested in horse, trip, ground, etc. And then who's on board, just trust them to do the job. You know what I mean? So I never, ever don't back a horse because a jockey's on it.
Yeah, I'm going to be boring, I'm afraid. I think this will be Tis Marvellous's race again. He's a 5.5 furlong horse. I know one of the owners, Steve Barrow, well. He's a Watford supporter. He's a local man to me. And this is the race I think they've been targeting that. So he has been running well in defeat as well. So it's a little bit boring for me, but it will be the Fav to take off the first. What an interesting race. 12.50, the Dash. Let's go to Newmarket, shall we? Back on the July course for the sweet Solera Stakes. Filly's time to shine. Has gone to some decent fillies over the years. And a decent filly could get a boost here, Kills. Star Stakes, a listed race at Sandown. You flagged it on this show. John Gosden looks like he's got another star in Spiral. We've got the second and the third reopposing. Wild Beauty, sure to go off Fav, it looks here for Godolphin. Can she win?
Yeah, Wild Beauty, second, Sunstrike, third. In Spiral made them look ordinary. At Sandown, quickened up from the back in a race that wasn't run at a particularly helter-skelter gallop, and she made them look second rate. I think that's what they might be, and they're first and second favourites. So for me, it's a race to have a bet in. I had a look at the 10-year history of this race, and the average winning RPR is 104.7 over the last 10 years, so almost 105. Wild Beauty and Sunstrike have run 4 times each, and their best between them is an RPR of 91. So to win a normal running of this, they need to improve a stone, and they're market leaders. Now, obviously, they've got the best form that goes in a race, but they don't even set a group race standard as far as I'm concerned. So I've got to look for a horse less exposed with more improvement in him, because they've already run 4 times. And the one that stands out for me is Value Theory of Mark Johnston's. Went off favourite first time out on the all-weather and was eye-catching, running green, finished third. Next time out, over course and distance at Newmarket, made all, raced keenly, won in a very decent time. In fact, the top speed figure is £9 higher than any of the other 2-year-olds in this race have achieved already. So she might not need to improve to win the race, and she might well get an easy lead again. I think she's a good bet. She's third favourite. I don't see her being third favourite on the day. I think the money will come for it.
I agree with Kills in this. Before we go to Pat, yes, I like about the way she was challenged second time up. She knew her job, obviously, after that first day at school debut, if you like. And she went away again, didn't she? They're bidding for a 5th win in this race as well, so they know what it takes to win as well, doesn't it? Franny Norton, drawn 9, get that far rail, crack on, Franny, I think, absolutely. The favourite still looks a little bit green to me, Pat, at Sandown, but my worry about her will be this track and this trip. Will she find it a bit sharp, or are you fancying her?
Well, I'm one for a Value Theory as well, and Value Theory by name and by nature. I agree with everything the pair of you have said. Wild Beauty and Sunstrike. It's not top class form. It looks good, doesn't it? Because we're all big fans of Inspiral, and she may well be the next superstar in town. But they were comprehensively beaten. At no stage did they look like beaten Inspiral. So if Inspiral hadn't run that day, the form would have just looked, fair enough. With Value Theory, though, what I can say, when she made pretty much all over the course and distance last time, we laid quite a few horses in that race. It was a real hot race. The connections of 3 or 4 of them actually had a few quid on their one. So the form actually stacks up pretty well. She beat some horses with some pretty lofty reputations, Value Theory, and proven over the course and distance. I like everything about her, really. And I also like the fact that when she did win, connections were quick to nominate this race as her next objective. So course form counts for a lot at Newmarket, and I think you could lay the front two in the market, a 5-2 and 7-2 as you speak at the moment. That's evens coupled. I wouldn't mind having the rest of the field at evens in opposition to them. But value theory, I could see the public getting behind her, and it was a very taking performance last time.
There you are then. Not often we're all unanimous here on What a Shout on this panel, but we're all seeing the same value theory. You might want to get involved before at 250 it's all gone. 4:10. Final race preview on a Saturday for you at Haydock. It is, of course, the Group 3 Rose of Lancaster Stakes. And Keels, what on earth is the ground going to do up there?
Well, this is it, isn't it? I mean, we know what Haydock's like, and it just tends to be incredibly unlucky. And if you look at the forecast for today and tomorrow, it's horrific. And you know, I think they're reckoning about 15 mil, but I mean, you know, one website I was looking at 20 today and another 15 tomorrow. So. Whoa. We're talking, you know, it'd be surprised if it's anything other than soft. You know, it's like Haydock. They normally get worse than his forecast anyway.
Could be heavy.
Just an unlucky track, and I am expecting soft ground, which is the big unknown for real world. Now, I mean, Connections are obviously very shrewd with this horse because they managed to get him handicapped on artificial surfaces, turned up at the Royal Hunt Cup on fast turf. First time he'd ever run off turf, absolutely bolted up. Fast turf again at Newbury last time. Took a while to get going, which was a surprise considering it was a mile and two, but then really quickened up well again. He looks a proper group horse in the making. Potentially even Group 1 horse. But what is soft ground going to do to him? It wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't run.
Yeah, agreed.
That is the problem. Do you take a price now or do you wait to see the market reformed? I say take a price now because I think Stormy Antarctic, if the ground goes soft, is nowhere near. I think it's 12-1 with Bet365. He'll be nowhere near that if Real World runs. He won't be far off favourite if he doesn't. Because he's got such a good record on soft and heavy ground.
Yeah.
Now he lost it. He ran badly at Haydock last year, but he'd lost just losing his form then, and he's had a wind operation since. 2 good seconds at the start of this season, and then he looked really good when he won. When he just sluiced up in soft ground at Goodwood. Okay, it was only a 4-runner race, but Desert Encounter is no mug, and he basically toyed with them there. So you know he's on that effort he's as good as he's ever been, and I think he'd be a massive player. Now. We all love Yukon Glen. He's brilliant, but he's going to the well pretty quickly again, isn't he?
Yes.
That was a hard race at Goodwood. He nearly won under his penalty. He's a very good horse. Love to see him win, and obviously, you know, he's won an old Borough Cup over a mile and 6 there. So he's a very decent horse on any trip and on the ground. And he's the one. Yeah, he's the one. If you haven't had a bet, he's the one you want to see win.
Yeah.
But he didn't half have our race at Goodwood. That would be what would worry me with him. I just think Stormy Antarctic is the wrong price given the likely conditions.
Hard to disagree with any of that, isn't it? Real world, before we throw this over to Pat, Stevenson Stakes, which he won at Newbury last time, 3 of the last 10 winners have come from that, or either winning or finishing second. It's the natural progression, isn't it? And the figure that we gave him there, Kills, I looked at the 10-year history of this, would have been good enough to win everyone bar one of them.
I mean,
it's just the ground, isn't it?
It's borderline group 1 figure, isn't it? It's just...
Yeah.
Can he do it on that ground? And we don't know that he can.
He's drawn in 8, so he's not going to get the inside run like he got last time.
You know, it's not the biggest field in the world, is it? So I mean, you know, it ain't going to worry with that too much. But I mean, the ground is the issue. It's enough to say I'm going to have a bet elsewhere, and if he doesn't run, I will probably be increasing the stake.
It's tempting to give Yukon Glen another chance, isn't it? But I'm with Kills. He probably had a harder race than he had around Sandown the last twice. Stormy Antarctic looks the value pick. Pat Cooney, where are we going with this?
Well, when Real World won at Newbury, we actually sponsored the race, the Stevenson Stakes, and I spoke to Marco Gianni after the race because he was all dressed up with nowhere to go a furlong out, and I said to him, were you ever worried? He said, oh, no, this horse has got loads and loads of gears. So I think you could just about say he's the best horse in this race anyway, and he's probably potential to be even better than he looks. So likely winner, yes, but you just have to say, you know, but what if it was soft? Could he be even better? Maybe, I don't know. At 6-4, which is what he is now, you'd rather not take the price and find out. I'd rather wait for the day and see what happens. Likely winner, as I say, but you go into bat as if you're opposing him as a bookmaker. You've got Yukon Glen, Stormy, two 8-year-olds in your corner, but they're pretty good, aren't they? And Extra Elusive won the race a year ago. Fox's Tails, progressive 3-year-old. But, I just keep coming back to real world and saying, if it doesn't rain, yes. If it does rain, question mark, look for each way alternatives.
I think none of us can argue with that either. So there you go, 4:10 at Haydock. Perhaps if you like topically named winners, Stormy Antarctic, there won't be a better one all weekend. 4:10, a Sunday treat for you here on What a Shout, because it's Group 1 time. It's the Phoenix Stakes, won by some absolute top-notchers, 2-year-olds over the years. Usually the Railway Stakes is the guide kills, and Dave Loughnane, Ammo Racing, top 2-year-old owners of the year in both spheres. Send over Go Bears Go, who took out the Railway Stakes, and this is Dave's first ever Group 1 winner.
Yeah,
Group 1 runner, sorry.
Yeah, and obviously deserves a shot at a Group 1 and he's favourite for a reason. He took out that really well, second to Perfect Power in the Norfolk. Good piece of form, that Perfect Power. A lot of people think was very unlucky behind Asymmetric at Goodwood, so you can't argue with that. We've also got other runners from the Railway in there though, and the one I like was actually 4th place, Dr. Zemph. Now we know how much experience means when it comes to 2-year-old races and how much horses can come on. I think a good example being Armour, who won the Moulcombe.
Yeah.
He went from winning a 4-runner race at Doncaster straight to Royal Ascot, finished 5th, but he turned the form around quite comprehensively next time. He was running against horses with far more experience, and the same goes with Dr. Zemph. He had a run in a 6-runner maiden, then went straight to the Railway, while the others ahead of him had much more experience, and he was just so green, wasn't he? He didn't get beaten very far. If he comes on for that, I would expect him to go very, very close to improving past them.
In the Sotstas colours, of course, art-winning colours. And with these colours, we think maybe the Breeders' Cup might be the target. He is interesting, and I'd be surprised if the money didn't come for him again, because he was favourite in the Railway Stakes, wasn't he? They paid a bundle for him. But I've got to give Castle Star another chance. I think Go Bears Go will do everything right, hit the line. I just think Castle Star was a little bit away from the action. He was going to be my banker of the week at Royal Ascot. They didn't come there. I think he'll come on for this. I know he's had plenty of racing, but I still think there's a big one in him. That's 2 for the panel then. What about Pat Cooney?
Yeah, I just go with the form, really. Go Bears Go. He did beat Castle Star and Dr. Zemph last time, and he won by a length and a quarter and beyond as well. So I can see him running a mighty race again. It's no gimme, though, because Castle Star, he was slow away, fluffed his lines a bit. And Dr. Zemph, he was just very green, wasn't he? He pulled hard. They'll get closer to him, but they have got a length and a quarter to make up. It's just odd to look at a Group 1 2-year-old race, isn't it, and not really see an Aidan O'Brien horse anywhere near the top of the market. So it's going to be a good payday for any of these horses. But I think Go Bears Go, I'll just take him to confirm the form. But let's say not with a great deal of conviction, though.
Oh, it'll be some party in the Loughnane yard if Gis goes and takes it out. Trushan, of course, Alan King's first ever runner in a Group 1. Will it be the same for Dave Loughnane? We'll be cheering either way. Weekend winner time. Let's get this out of the way. We've heard from Sean Levey and his Shergar Cup rides. I am going to tip at the Shergar Cup, and I am putting my eggs in the Dream Composer basket. I toyed with putting one up in the Fillies race at Haydock, but I think Dream Composer, if Mickaelly can just hold on tight, will get just recompense, I think, for what happened at Royal Ascot. Kills.
Yeah, I like that one too, but I'm gonna stick at Ascot, go to a different race, and I'm gonna go to the old boy Raising Sand in the Shergar Cup Mile. Now, this horse is like a proper Ascot specialist, isn't he? I think 12 of the best 13 runs of his life on RPRs have been at Ascot, and he's been given a chance by the handicapper. He was rated 104 started this season. He was 6th in the Buckingham Palace, but won his side. He was only beaten 4.5 lengths in the International last time, both on very fast ground, which he doesn't want. And I think now he's down to a mark of 97. He's got Joe Fanning riding. He's got a massive, massive chance. Not used to running on the round course, but he's only one run there. Came in this race in 2017, and he hacked up. So I think Raising Sand's got a massive chance.
We were talking about this off air before we came this morning. I'm looking down straight from 7 furlong. It's the only time he's run on a round, but there aren't that many mile handicaps at Ascot round the bend, are there? So yeah,
exactly. When there was one,
he won it.
He bolted up. It's
and
just the track. He loves it.
Yeah, he's going to be interesting, isn't he? And Joe Fanning on, big plus there. Pat Cooney complete the treble.
Yeah, I'm off to Newmarket, the 4:30, number 3, Quintilus. The last time we saw this guy, he was 3rd of 29 in the Britannia, which was a good run. He beat 26 horses that day. That's no mean feat. I'm not thrilled with the fact that he went up £5 for it, but you just look at this 4:30. He's the only horse that comes here in any sort of recent form. He's got William Buick, Charlie Appleby aboard, fast ground suits. He was a non-runner at Goodwood when the ground changed to good to soft, so he'll have no worries of that. It's already good to firm at Newmarket. He's the only horse running well in this race tomorrow, so it was a good last run. Anywhere near a reproduction of last time out would be good enough for this.
2 at the Shergar meeting, 1 at Newmarket for you. Treble, Trixie, individual, however you want to do it. There are your weekend naps. Well, that's all we've got time for then this weekend on this week's What a Shout. We'll be back as ever next week for you. Flat season in full swing now. Kills, you going to Ascot tomorrow?
I am, yeah. I'll pop along. I love a day at Ascot and Sandown. My 2 local tracks, Ascot's a little bit further. But yeah,
Take your brolly this time.
We'll have a little bit of fun. Looks like it's going to be wet, but yeah, I'll be there.
Thanks.
Yes, really looking forward to the Shergar Cup, and there's always great value there as well. So with the each way terms and so forth. So yeah, head down, get studying.
So for myself, Dave Orton, signing off then on another What a Shout. We will be with you, as I said, next weekend. Don't forget, gamble responsibly this weekend, whatever you do. Also, don't forget to download the free Must Have Racing Post app. You can do that for free on the App Store or the Google Play Store, whichever device you're using. And of course, there's loads of sport out there this weekend. Enjoy it.